In a world of serene mountains and floating motes of light, a lone traveler helps the people of a small village. Wiping his brow, he sighs in relief, the task finally done. An old farmer approaches, his face etched with gratitude. He offers a small pouch as payment for the hard work. But our boy gently refuses the money. He claims that doing good is its own reward. The other villagers stop their work, surprised by his gesture. The old man is moved to tears by such a selfless act. And with that, his reputation in Windwall Village begins to grow. Internally, he celebrates gaining another reputation point. Because this isn't just a fantasy world, it's the game, Divine Catastrophe. A hyper-realistic VR MMO that took the world by storm, becoming the most popular game in just a single week. Its main draw? The sheer variety of professions available to players. And we see our boy's status. He's just 1 point away from becoming a Saint Knight. His journey continues through the serene landscape. When he comes across a cloaked man sitting by the path, the stranger lets out a pained cough, clearly unwell. The cloaked man cries out, pleading for someone to help him. Wildfire rushes over, his eyes gleaming with pure, unadulterated opportunity. The old man seems hesitant, questioning if Wildfire is up to the task. But our boy confidently accepts, sure, it's just another simple newbie quest. The stranger then presents a small, ornate ring. He asks Wildfire to deliver it to the nearby city, a strangely simple request. With a suspicious grin, the old man insists that he take it. Before Wildfire can react, the man flicks the ring through the air. It lands perfectly on his finger, a sudden, unwanted accessory. A blinding pillar of light erupts, his gear disintegrating in the golden torrent. As the light recedes, his gear is replaced by a dark, tattered coat. His hand is now a cold, articulated prosthetic. A sinister new emblem is branded onto his chest. Wildfire looks down, utterly bewildered by his new look, and a system notification confirms the change. He's now a Tyrant. He quickly pulls up his character status to see the damage. His level is reset to 1, and his reputation is now negative 100. All that good deed grinding right down the drain. The old man, looking much healthier, lets out a sly little cough. He claps Wildfire on the shoulder, welcoming him to the team. Wildfire finally snaps, screaming at the old man for ruining his progress. But the stranger just shrugs, asking why he's so upset over a simple quest. Our boy grabs the man by his robes and tearfully explains that his dream of becoming a Saint Knight is now gone. The old man scoffs, calling that profession trash compared to the power of a tyrant. Through his tears, Wildfire desperately asks if he's telling the truth. The man promises to take him on as a disciple, assuring him he'll be treated well. But then, a sudden horrifying thought stops Wildfire in his tracks. He realizes the full implication of his reputation dropping to negative 100. The old man confirms his fears, leaving Wildfire to wonder if he should just delete his account. The old man offers a small gift as compensation for his troubles. He launches a fiery skill directly at his new disciple. Wildfire panics, his feet suddenly engulfed in harmless flames. Resigned to his fate, he decides to investigate this new Tyrant profession, but the system offers no information, just a screen full of question marks. Feeling thoroughly scammed, he heads back to town to find a solution. He soon arrives, overlooking the sprawling city from a nearby cliff, only to find the massive front gates completely sealed shut. Guards stand watch on the walls, a clear sign of high alert. He wonders if a new event, or perhaps even a war, is about to begin. He recalls that wars and divine catastrophe are a great way to earn reputation. A sly grin spreads across his face. This could be his chance to get back to zero. He confidently approaches the gate, calling up to the guards to let him in. But a guard on the wall shouts down, warning him to stay back or face the consequences. Wildfire looks around, genuinely confused by the hostile reception. He points to himself, wondering if they could possibly be talking to him. He tries to assure them he's a good guy, completely forgetting about his new evil-looking emblem. The guard recognizes the mark of a tyrant and immediately orders an all-out attack. As soldiers charge, Wildfire scrambles back, cursing the old man for his terrible luck. But just then, the mysterious ring on his finger begins to glow with a faint blue light. A system notification appears, asking to activate a skill called Villain. Wildfire looks on, completely bewildered by the sudden prompt. Distracted, his foot catches on a small rock in his path. He tumbles forward, landing awkwardly on the ground. The guards surround him, their swords pointed at the fallen tyrant. Deciding he has nothing left to lose, he glares at the system window. With a final, desperate click, he chooses to activate the skill. A surge of crimson energy erupts from the ring on his hand. One of the guards leaps into the air, bringing his sword down for the kill. But Wildfire's eyes now glow with a cold, menacing light. He catches the descending blade with his prosthetic hand, and with a single fluid motion, He disarms the soldier. Now wielding the guard's sword, he unleashes a powerful swing. The blade cuts through the air, trailing crimson energy. It connects with another guard, dealing 1,000 points of damage. Wildfire stares in disbelief. He's only level 1. A flood of notifications confirms his new hostile status and a bounty on his head. He frantically tries to explain it was an accident, begging for forgiveness. But the guards ignore his pleas. Their only command is to eliminate him. He's forced to parry their attacks, apologizing with every block and swing. With another swing, he deals 1,000 points of damage. The remaining guards coordinate, unleashing a flurry of skills. Wildfire's eyes widen in panic, realizing he's completely cornered. He braces for impact as their combined assault connects. But he's shocked to find their attacks barely scratch him. Realizing he's practically invincible, he decides to go on the offensive. He carves through their ranks, apologizing for every devastating blow. His apologies echo across the battlefield, a truly bizarre war cry. In moments, he stands alone amidst a field of defeated soldiers. He looks down at the glowing ring, the source of this unbelievable power. He finally understands the skill. The lower his reputation, the stronger he becomes. Standing over the fallen guards, he realizes his luck might be turning around, but he sighs in frustration, knowing he's now barred from entering the city. A system tip explains the harsh 48-hour jail penalty for being defeated by NPCs. With no other choice, he decides to head for a place called Chaos City. But first, he checks the guards for loot, only to find worthless junk. Just then, a commander arrives on the scene, shocked by the carnage. He finds 2 large piles, one of equipment and one of the defeated soldiers. A soldier reports that a single adventurer was responsible for all of this. Enraged, the commander places a massive bounty on Wildfire's head, dead or alive. The commander vows to make the lone attacker understand that the rules of Walt City are not to be underestimated. Elsewhere, Wildfire discovers his new 200 gold bounty. He laments how far he's fallen from his Saint Knight dream. His only consolation is the powerful villain skill, though it has a cooldown of nearly an hour. As if things couldn't get worse, he's now starving. Apparently, hyper-realistic also applies to an empty stomach. Just as he's about to collapse, he spots a farmer in a field, and beyond him, a village that promises food and water. He finally reaches the village, a quaint and peaceful-looking place. But the welcome party is less than friendly, warning the Tyrant to stay away. He tries to explain it's all a misunderstanding, but they just scream and run, leaving Wildfire alone in the suddenly empty street. He wonders why everyone instantly knows he's a tyrant. Then he finally spots the giant skull insignia on his coat. His train of thought is cut short by a powerful growl from his stomach. He decides he needs to find food and something to cover up his new brand. And just like that, his prayers are answered in the form of hanging sausages. With no one around, he wonders if it's really stealing if there's no one to see it. Unable to bear the hunger any longer, he gives in to his baser instincts. He helps himself to more food, as system notifications confirm his descent into petty crime. With his stomach finally full, he lets out a satisfied burp. His eyes then fall upon a simple cloak, the perfect disguise. Without a second thought, he snatches it from the line. He drapes it over his shoulders, confident this will solve his problems. But the system chimes in, docking yet another reputation point for his troubles. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps fills the empty streets. The villagers have returned, shouting for everyone to check for missing items. And from a nearby rooftop, the first cry of theft is heard. The villagers gather, confused by the petty nature of the crime. But one confirms the tyrant's insignia, just as another discovers a note. It's a simple apology, explaining his hunger and promising to return. A promise that, to them, sounds more like a terrifying threat. Meanwhile, far from the now panicked village, Wildfire lets out a sudden sneeze, completely unaware of the fear he's caused. He smugly assumes they're praising his considerate gesture. What a clever boy. Thanks to the stolen supplies, he finally reaches his destination, Chaos City. He approaches the gate, a place teeming with all sorts of characters. Unlike the last city, this one seems far more welcoming under the night sky. He takes in the sights of Chaos City, a haven for the desperate and the dangerous. The forums called it a lawless zone, filled with vicious thugs. But seeing it firsthand, he realizes it's something more. He knows that to get information and supplies, a tavern is always the best bet. And so, he steps into the rowdy establishment, his hood pulled low. Taking a seat at the bar, he's greeted by the burly man in charge. He places his order, 20 servings of milk and 20 servings of food. The bartender scoffs, telling him this is a pub, not a nursery. The entire tavern erupts in laughter at his expense, but Wildfire simply refuses, holding firm on his strange request. The bartender warns him that everything in Chaos City comes at a steep price. Wildfire explains he has 50 silver coins, anticipating the high cost. But the total comes out to 4 gold coins, an impossible sum for him to pay. Nearby patrons mock the newcomer, warning him that the city preys on the weak and penniless. Unable to afford his order, Wildfire turns from the bar. The tavern once again fills with laughter as he walks away. He approaches a notice board, ignoring the taunts to go back where he came from. The others assume he's looking for an easy quest, not realizing every job here is a death sentence. Without hesitation, his prosthetic hand plucks a poster from the board. He slaps it on the counter, confidently telling the bartender he'll take the job. The bartender's eyes narrow with intense scrutiny. He questions if the boy is serious about hunting a caskie. For a brief moment, the entire tavern falls completely silent, before erupting in a wave of derisive laughter. The bartender warns him that cascas are vicious beasts. Unfazed, Wildfire simply turns to leave, promising to return. He calculates that the reward will easily cover his bounty. The bartender scoffs, writing the kid off as a dead man walking, but then he slams his hand on the counter, realizing something is wrong. The kid didn't just accept the job, he took the official order slip with him. Wildfire races through the barren wasteland searching for a pond. He recalls the job description, but this desolate landscape seems an unlikely place for a Kaski's habitat. The long journey begins to take its toll on him. He collapses to his knees, once again cursing the game's hyper-realistic hunger system. After a quick snack, he spots a dense forest to the northwest, a new potential lead. He takes a drink, feeling a bit more refreshed. With his energy restored, he prepares to set off once more. But suddenly the entire world begins to tremble violently. Wildfire is caught completely off guard by the sudden tremor. He scans the horizon, wondering if it's an earthquake or something far more dangerous. He's impressed by the sheer force of the disturbance. He draws his sword, thinking his prey has delivered itself to him. But the source is just a tiny worm, leaving him utterly confused. He sighs, thinking it was a false alarm after all. But then, a colossal shadow erupts from the ground behind him. It's the level 40 Kasky, the very beast he was sent to hunt. A confident grin spreads across his face. The real fight is here. The monster opens its terrifying maw, ready to devour him whole. It lunges forward, a blur of armored fury. Wildfire leaps to meet the charge, his blade glowing with power. His blade connects, but the damage numbers are pitifully small. Still, a look of grim determination crosses his face. The Kasky retaliates, sending him flying with a single blow. He tumbles across the sand, crashing hard into the ground. Looking up, he's stunned by how little health the monster lost. He realizes his stats are boosted, but the beast is still a tank. A crazed grin spreads across his face. He's confident he can win. The monster lunges again, ready to finish the fight. Wildfire lets out a furious roar, unleashing a powerful skill. But his mighty swing completely misses, carving a trench in the earth. The Kasky's charge connects, sending Wildfire reeling, but he recovers mid-air, filled with a furious resolve. He dives back in, unleashing an impossibly powerful strike. The massive beast cries out before crashing to the ground, and just like that, a notification confirms the mission is complete. Wildfire stands over the defeated creature as it begins to fade. He loots an epic quality horn and a rare scale from its remains. He notes the scale has a level 25 requirement, wondering how much he's leveled. A quick check reveals he's jumped all the way to level 23. He realizes being a tyrant is great for grinding, but he still needs a way out of this class. He decides to dump all his new attribute points into strength. His first test of this new power? Trying to lift the entire monster. It's a valiant effort, but the massive beast doesn't even budge. Defeated, he gives up, worried someone will steal his prize. With no other choice, he decides to head back to the city first. He soon arrives back at the saloon in Chaos City. Leaning on the bar, he casually announces that he killed the Kasky. For a moment, the entire tavern falls completely silent. The other patrons scoff, assuming the kid is just a braggart, but another adventurer recognizes him as the one who took the quest. And once again, the entire tavern fills with derisive laughter. The same adventurer from before approaches, surprised he even dared to return. He accuses Wildfire of failing the quest and lying to save face, calling him a fool for making such an unbelievable claim. But Wildfire ignores him, calmly asking the bartender for his reward. The heckler grows furious, shouting that no one believes his story, but the bartender steps in, telling the man to back down. The adventurer scoffs but reluctantly steps away from the bar. The bartender turns to Wildfire, demanding to see the Kasky's body as proof. He reveals the quest wasn't for justice, but for the beast's delicious meat. The bartender grabs him, insisting he won't pay without the corpse. Wildfire calmly explains the beast is too large to carry alone. But the bartender slams his fist on the counter, cutting him off. He accuses Wildfire of playing him for a fool with clumsy lies. The nearby adventurer identifies the man as Desperado Cars, a wanted man. But Wildfire remains completely unfazed by the threat. Cars adjusts his glasses, remarking on the boy's audacity. He unleashes a wave of pressure, his anger finally boiling over. Wildfire notes the oppressive aura, realizing how Cars controls the tavern. He simply repeats his offer to lead the man to the Caskie's body. He tells Cars that whether he gets paid is now up for discussion. The bartender seems intrigued by this sudden show of defiance. He turns to the tavern, laughing at the sheer audacity of the kid. But his amusement quickly boils over into pure rage. He lunges across the bar, throwing a punch to silence the boy for good. Wildfire, however, remains perfectly still, a confident smirk on his face. He effortlessly dodges the incoming fist. Cars' attack misses completely, crashing into the floor. The bartender is shocked, realizing the kid is far faster than he appears. He powers up, roaring that the next punch will not be so easy to avoid. Wildfire draws his sword, deciding it's time to teach Cars a lesson. He smirks, promising not to go too far since he still needs to get paid. The crowd jeers, urging the bartender to crush this arrogant newcomer. But Cars' powerful punch stops just inches from Wildfire's face, because the tip of our boy's sword is now pressed against his chest. With a lightning-fast slash, he lands a clean strike on the bartender. He calmly asks if Cars is ready to reconsider their arrangement, or if he'd rather be the one paying for his own medical bills. Cars is stunned, finally realizing the sheer strength of his opponent. The crowd immediately turns on him, mocking the once feared desperado. Cars roars, refusing to let his reputation be tarnished. He knows any sign of weakness will turn these wolves against him. He decides to try again, planning a feint to catch the boy off guard. But his fist connects squarely with Wildfire's face. Cars is stunned. The kid didn't even try to dodge the blow. Even at partial strength, the punch should have had some effect. Frustration turns to rage as he begins to power up. He lunges forward, promising this next attack will show no mercy. But Wildfire is feeling pretty good about his odds, what with the 33x stat boost. Cars unleashes his full power in a devastating punch. The resulting shockwave rips through the saloon, blasting out into the street. Inside, patrons and furniture are sent flying in every direction. The onlookers can only stare in terror at the sheer display of power. But at the center of it all, Wildfire has stopped the punch cold with his blade. He calmly calculates that the attack was, at best, a minor inconvenience. Cars collapses to the floor, utterly defeated, as Wildfire warns him to stay down. He raises his sword, claiming he might not be able to control his own strength. The entire tavern watches in stunned silence, their bravado completely gone. The heckler finally realizes that this kid might have actually killed the Caskie after all. With a final show of force, Wildfire slams his sword into the floorboards. He considers his next move, knowing he could easily end this. Deciding it's too much trouble, he threatens to finish the job. The bartender's bravado shatters, and he begs for his life. Wildfire is relieved, glad to avoid the hassle of butchering the beast. With the threat over, he sheathes his sword. He casually sits down, demanding his payment from the defeated man. Cars scrambles to agree, promising the money immediately. He quickly gathers a massive pile of gold, admitting he was too hasty. In the wrecked tavern, Cars begins to count out the reward. He hands over the final coins, confirming the payment is complete. Cars nervously asks if the amount is right, but Wildfire calmly calculates, pointing out he's still short. A cold sweat breaks out on the bartender's face. He scrambles away, promising to get the rest immediately. He throws open his personal safe, only to find he doesn't have a single coin left. Wildfire then casually asks if Cars remembers his first order. The bartender's mind goes blank, lost in a state of pure panic. So our boy reminds him, 20 servings of milk and food. An order Cars now rushes to fulfill without complaint. The other patrons whisper, wondering who this kid is that humbled the desperado. Cars returns, eagerly presenting the food he was ordered to prepare. 20 servings of bread and 20 servings of milk, just as requested. Wildfire accepts the provisions. His business here finally concluded. He turns and walks out of the wrecked saloon without another word. The remaining patrons let out a collective sigh, glad the terrifying newcomer is gone. But he pops back in, reminding Cars where to find the Caskie's body, and with a final wave, he disappears through the swinging doors. Cars considers his words, deciding to go and see the proof for himself. Just as the tension settles, the saloon doors burst open once more. A patron notices the sudden commotion outside. A white-haired adventurer enters, asking why the tavern is closed so early. The patrons jump, relieved it's her and not the kid who just wrecked the place. She explains she's just delivering the latest bounty information. Cars overhears the news, suddenly reconsidering his career choices. The saloon doors swing shut, sealing the tense atmosphere inside. One of the patrons asks her to repeat what she just said. He clarifies, wanting to hear the part about the bounty again. Confused, she repeats the details of the weak-looking kid worth 213 gold. Cars' eyes narrow, asking if this kid happened to be wearing a black trench coat. The adventurer holds up a bounty poster, confirming she's talking about Wildfire. Cars realizes the kid's bounty is double his own, finally understanding his defeat. The white-haired girl seems intrigued that Cars has already met her target. She tries to rally the tavern, offering a cut of the reward for his location. But a patron warns her off, explaining that Cars was just humbled by that very kid. Her expression shifts from opportunistic to genuinely curious. Cars warns her to watch her tone, as she notes he's injured but alive. She deduces Wildfire held back and asks Cars where he went. The other patrons are already toasting to her memory. Elsewhere, a sigh escapes from someone near a large, stately building. Wildfire wanders the city, unable to find a single blacksmith. He has the money to clear his bounty, but there's a catch. He'd have to survive the city guards without his powerful skill. So before anything else, he decides he needs to prepare. His first priority is turning the epic Kasky horn into a weapon. Just then, a young man approaches, asking what he's looking for. Wildfire explains his search for a local smithy. The stranger claims to be the best blacksmith in the entire city. Wildfire eyes him skeptically, doubting his profession. The man explains he only wears his work clothes on the job. Wildfire considers the explanation and reluctantly accepts it. The young man grabs his arm, eager to lead him away to discuss the details. Our boy remains suspicious, but with his villain skill ready, he's not afraid of any tricks. As they walk down a narrow alley, he confirms that he wants a weapon crafted. The supposed blacksmith asks if he has the materials for the job. Wildfire presents the epic Kasky horn, but the smith's reaction is one of pure astonishment. His eyes gleam as he promises to forge the best weapon possible with such a valuable item. But a voice cuts in, warning Wildfire not to trust him. The blacksmith, Brian, whirls around, angrily telling the woman to stay out of his business. She calmly calls him out, reminding him of his well-earned reputation as a liar and a cheat. Brian angrily demands to know why she's interfering with his business. She calmly promises that his scams won't be repeated. She then shoves Wildfire's bounty poster in his face, warning him to back off. The terrified blacksmith scrambles away without a second thought. Wildfire turns to his mysterious savior, questioning her motives. She introduces herself as Vicky, an information merchant. She boasts about her network, claiming to know all the world's secrets. As for why she helped, she sees a potential partnership with the infamous Wildfire. To prove her sincerity, she offers to take him to a truly legendary blacksmith. She extends her hand, waiting for him to accept her deal. Wildfire accepts the deal but warns her against any tricks. As they travel, he questions their remote destination. Vicky casually asks if he truly defeated the Kasky. He confirms it with a nonchalant shrug. Her eyes widen, realizing his power is genuine. She suddenly stops in her tracks. Pointing to a distant city, she hypes up the legendary blacksmith. But Wildfire knows his reputation will get him attacked on sight. Vicky smirks, revealing she has a secret way in, a way that leads them through the city's dark and grimy sewers. Wildfire pinches his nose, enduring the foul stench of the sewers. Vicky explains that the city guards refuse to patrol such a disgusting place. It's a convenient, if unpleasant, travel route for those who need to stay hidden. But Wildfire notes the grim reality of the city's underbelly. Vicky assures him they're almost at their destination. As they climb a ladder to the surface, she warns him to be careful. He resolves to be more wary of NPCs, while Vicky tells him to keep his eyes to himself. They emerge from the darkness and leap across the city's rooftops. Soon they arrive at a large building, and Vicky calls out for a Mr. Timothy. Wildfire eyes the ordinary-looking shop, doubting this is the home of a legendary blacksmith. The heavy wooden door slowly swings open. A tired-looking man with gray, spiky hair peeks out, asking who's there. Vicky cheerfully announces her arrival, with Wildfire standing silently beside her. The man recognizes her, remarking that it's been a long time. She introduces him as Mr. Timothy, her father's friend and the world's best blacksmith. Wildfire is still doubtful, but Vicky introduces him as her new friend. She explains that he's in a bit of trouble and needs a weapon forged. Timothy offers to let him hide out for a few days, but says he's retired from smithing. But Vicky plays her trump card, revealing the material is a Kasky's horn. The blacksmith's eyes snap open, his interest suddenly captured by the rare item. Vicky goads the old man, suggesting his retirement is just an excuse. His cigarette falls to the floor, his focus suddenly shifting. Timothy scoffs, boasting he can forge a growth-type weapon from such a material. Wildfire is stunned by the concept of a weapon that can level up with him. The blacksmith then questions if they truly believe he has such skill. With a confident smile, Wildfire presents the horn, showing his complete faith. Timothy takes the item, his eyes widening as he confirms its authenticity. He holds it close, lost in the memory of his past glories. Looking at Wildfire with newfound respect, he thanks him for his trust. And with that, the legendary blacksmith prepares to begin his work. The sign of the master weaponsmith hangs proudly above the door. Inside, Vicky apologizes for Wildfire's earlier skepticism. She explains it's been years since Timothy has handled such a rare material. She then grabs Wildfire's prosthetic hand and pulls him outside, claiming it's too hot to talk in the forge. The two step out into the open air. Vicky begins to recount Timothy's legendary past, leaving Wildfire stunned by the old man's hidden history. Her eyes gleam with conviction as she speaks. She places a hand on his shoulder, assuring him he's in good hands. But his thoughts are cut short as Vicky steps on his foot. She pulls him close, urging him to keep quiet. She points out the city guards patrolling nearby and explains that the blacksmith needs absolute concentration for his work. And so they wait, hoping their trust was well placed. Sometime later, the door to the forge creaks open. Timothy emerges, announcing that the long wait is finally over. He presents the newly forged weapon to a stunned Wildfire. A system notification confirms it, a growth-type weapon called Killing Horn. It boasts 3 incredible effects that grow stronger with every kill. The legendary blacksmith asks if Wildfire is pleased with his work. Wildfire is overjoyed, promising to make the sword famous. But Timothy stops his praise with a sudden gesture. He casually lights a match, stating the total fee is 200 gold coins. Vicky then adds her own 20 gold fee for information and services. Wildfire admits he's completely broke, but Vicky offers him a credit plan. She proposes a partnership where he'll work off his debt through jobs she provides. She immediately starts listing off a series of highly questionable missions. Wildfire stops her, wondering why every option involves breaking the law. She reminds him that a wanted villain can't exactly apply for a desk job. Wildfire insists he's not a willing criminal, asking for a more law-abiding job. Vicky mockingly agrees, searching for a suitable task for a top-wanted man. She finds one, suggesting he could work as a mercenary. She explains that 2 cities are on the brink of war and are recruiting soldiers. A major contribution to the war effort could even get his bounty erased. Wildfire's eyes light up. This is the perfect chance to solve all his problems. Vicky teases him about his eagerness for battle, which he vehemently denies. They soon arrive at the city gates, where a long line of recruits has already formed. Walking among the hopefuls, Wildfire realizes this will be a serious conflict. But a guard on the wall suddenly shouts, ordering the people in front to stop. Vicky tries to calm the guards, assuring them they're friendly. But the soldier on duty is immediately suspicious of outsiders. She clarifies that they're mercenaries, here to enlist in the war. The guard directs them to the barracks to submit their application. As they walk, Vicky explains the 2 city lords' reputations. Wildfire chooses the righteous path, preferring integrity over profit. Vicky wonders if he's forgotten he's a wanted villain. They soon arrive at the grand recruitment hall of Sago City. An official reviews Wildfire's application, his picture staring back. But the man looks up, coldly telling him he's not welcome here. Vicky is stunned by the official's sudden hostile rejection. The man scoffs, recognizing her as a simple information broker from Chaos City. He then turns to Wildfire, claiming a simple cloak can't hide his identity. He reveals he knows all about the bounty from Malt City. And with that, he dismisses them, telling them to get out of his sight. But Vicky isn't so easily deterred, a confident smirk on her face. She asks if he's not afraid they'll simply join the enemy city. The official pauses, his expression hardening at her words, before he and his guards erupt in derisive laughter, but his amusement quickly fades, replaced by a cold, calculating look. The official declares that since they've made a threat, he has no intention of letting them leave. Vicky notes her poor choice of words, while reminding Wildfire he still owes her for the info. Wildfire despairs, realizing his plan to clear his bounty won't be so simple after all. He clutches his head in pure frustration, but he calmly tells the official to stand down, offering to forget the whole incident. The man erupts in laughter, mocking Wildfire's foolish confidence. He threatens to imprison our boy for life, a fate worse than death for any player. But Wildfire grips his new weapon, promising the official will be disappointed. Dark energy begins to swirl from his blade as the guards prepare to strike. A torrent of crimson power erupts around him as he prepares to join the war on his own terms. He declares that the official has already lost. The man tries to order his soldiers to attack, but his monocle shatters as he realizes his mistake. Wildfire moves in a blur, his new blade striking true. The official can only gasp as the attack connects. He collapses as notifications confirm the kill and another massive reputation drop. The guards stare in horror, unable to believe their leader is gone. Their shock quickly turns to rage as they vow to avenge him. The entire platoon charges forward, a wave of steel and fury. But Wildfire simply turns, completely unimpressed by their assault. A notification confirms his villain skill is now active. He carves through the guards in a blur of purple energy. Notifications confirm the kills as more soldiers are thrown aside. His new sword, Killing Horn, grows stronger with every life it takes, but he resists its influence, refusing to be controlled by a mere weapon. Meanwhile, Vicky urges him to escape while he's busy having a heart-to-heart with his new sword. But Wildfire refuses to flee, unwilling to let their insults go unanswered. More guards arrive, pointing him out as the one who took down their leader. Vicky finds herself surrounded, shouting that she can't hold them off forever. And the chapter ends on a stylized shot of our determined hero. A flash of blue light cuts through the air. Wildfire's blade tears through the guards with overwhelming force. Vicky screams at him, calling him a lunatic for his reckless actions. But he calmly reminds her that as a player, he can just respawn. She fires back that she's an NPC. For her, death is permanent. He turns and offers a hand, promising to protect her. His words seem to catch her completely off guard. But then he adds that he's still not paying her for her services. She asks if this settles the debt, but he flatly refuses. Meanwhile, another official scrambles for the exit, terrified by the newcomer's power. The second official tries to flee, but a voice stops him cold. He turns to find Wildfire blocking his path, causing him to fall in terror. Wildfire presses his blade to the man's throat, telling him to be quiet. He explains that the first official has already been dealt with. The terrified man quickly agrees, much to Wildfire's confusion. Our boy wonders what he's agreeing to, since no demands were made. The official then surrenders the entire city, offering his life in exchange. A notification confirms it. Wildfire is now the lord of an empty city. Vicky appears, impressed by his accidental hostile takeover. She offers to be his PR agent, but Wildfire is clearly not interested. She runs off, telling him to enjoy his new headline-making fame. Wildfire is left to process the unbelievable truth. He's now a city lord. He screams to the sky that he never wanted this responsibility. Meanwhile, in the rival Halma city, an attendant rushes in to wake his own lord with urgent news. The city lord wakes up, annoyed at being disturbed. But his attendant warns that Sego City is in grave danger. The lord's expression turns serious, demanding a full report. The man nervously presents the written intelligence. He reads about an unknown player named Wildfire, causing trouble for their powerful rival. The lord is stunned by the report of Wildfire's conquest. He's terrified that this unstoppable force will come for him next. He demands to know what the new city lord is doing now. Deciding diplomacy is better than death, he plans a visit. Back in Chaos City, Kars reads the same news with a grim look. He worries that the kid they all mocked might come back for revenge. Rumors fly about the takeover, a lesson in picking your battles. A heavy silence hangs in the air, the news spreading like wildfire. Other players are outraged, their own progress seeming insignificant. One even tried to replicate the feat, only to fail spectacularly. And among the players, his legend is already taking root. A system notification details his new powers as City Lord. Wildfire realizes that this accidental conquest has some serious perks. Back in the throne room, the defeated official remains kneeling. He's resigned to his fate, awaiting the final judgment. But Wildfire just asks why he hasn't left yet. The official is stunned, convinced this is some kind of cruel trick. Just then, the grand doors to the hall are thrown open. As Wildfire wonders about the noise, the official braces for his execution. But our boy just grins, announcing that the players are coming. Wildfire looks down from his new balcony, amazed by the sea of players below. But the adventurers are already getting restless, complaining about the empty city. Vicky points out their disrespect, wondering if they know who's in charge now. She explains this was her doing, a bit of publicity to bring in new business. Wildfire sighs, realizing this fame only complicates his goal of clearing his name. Vicky reminds him she told him to run, but admits that's in the past. Down below, the crowd's complaints grow louder, calling the whole thing a scam. He realizes he needs to make a show of force to earn their respect. Otherwise, his new city won't earn a single coin. He suddenly moves, and Vicky asks what he's planning to do. He leaps from the balcony, ignoring Vicky's frantic cries, and lands with enough force to send a shockwave through the crowd. The players are thrown into confusion, coughing in the sudden dust cloud. As the smoke clears, they see a lone figure standing in the center. He plants his feet firmly on the ground and gestures to the stunned onlookers. He proudly announces that he, Wildfire, is the new lord of this city. The crowd murmurs, some impressed by his looks, others clearly skeptical. One large adventurer steps forward, unimpressed by the grand entrance. Wildfire simply smirks, asking what the man thinks of him now. The man accuses him of looking weak and using tricks to seize power. Onlookers identify the challenger as Irritable Skin, a top player from Chaos City. He's a high-level warrior, far stronger than most players at this stage. He plants his weapon down, questioning if Wildfire is worthy of his new title. With a furious roar, he leaps forward to attack. His eyes gleam with greed, already imagining himself on the throne. But Wildfire simply raises his sword, a calm smile on his face. The resulting impact sends a massive shockwave through the crowd, and the entire square is engulfed in a cloud of dust and smoke. A nearby player stares in shock, wondering if the fight is already over. The crowd is stunned. Wildfire won without even drawing his sword. Elsewhere, Irritable Skin waits to respawn, wondering what level his opponent could possibly be. Wildfire addresses the silent crowd, declaring that this city has new rules. Everyone is welcome, but those who cause trouble will be dealt with. He then offers benefits to any player willing to help the city grow. As a player himself, he promises to lead them in activities, not just hand out boring quests. And with his new authority, he posts the very first mission for his citizens. The task is simple: help clean up the ruined streets of Sagos City. A quest window appears, offering a repeatable reward for their efforts. The players are instantly energized, excited by the prospect of easy money. The players scramble to clean, eager for the easy reward. Wildfire watches them work, a satisfied smirk on his face. Vicky claps, impressed by his surprisingly effective leadership. He brushes off her praise, but she quickly points out new arrivals. A notification confirms it. A delegation from Halma City has arrived. Their attendant looks around the empty entrance, finding it strangely quiet. He then spots Wildfire and Vicky, mistaking them for mere civilians. Relieved, he assumes the rumors of a monster were greatly exaggerated. The attendant, Surati, introduces himself and his lord's diplomatic mission. He then politely asks if they know where to find the new city lord. Vicky just smirks, a blade of grass hanging from her lips. She casually points to Wildfire, confirming he's the man they're looking for. The attendant is struck with terror, realizing how close he came to a fatal mistake. He bows deeply, formally requesting an audience for his own lord. Wildfire agrees, noting he has plenty of free time at the moment. Overjoyed, the attendant promises to deliver the good news immediately, and with that, he quickly scurries away. But his lord was already nearby, having heard the entire exchange. He observes Wildfire, realizing the reports might not have been an exaggeration after all. He then steps forward, introducing himself as Hadiwut and offering a congratulatory gift. Wildfire wonders about the rumors painting him as a legendary devil. He clears his throat, suggesting they continue this talk in the city mansion. As they walk, he laments the wildly inaccurate reports about him. Hadiwut, meanwhile, is impressed by the sheer scale of Sagos City. He watches the players at work, a look of disdain on his face. He then advises Wildfire to drive all the adventurers out of the city. His attendant freezes, realizing his lord just insulted their powerful host. He tugs on Hadiwut's sleeve, trying to warn him of his mistake. The lord turns, angrily demanding to know what's so important. The terrified attendant quickly changes his tune, suggesting adventurers aren't so bad after all. The attendant quickly reminds his lord that Wildfire himself is an adventurer. Hadiwut realizes his attempt to please the devil has backfired spectacularly, but Wildfire just places a hand on his shoulder, startling the nervous lord. He calmly tells Hadiwut that he doesn't quite agree with his opinion. He explains that the adventurers are cleaning the city for a very small fee. Hadiwut immediately changes his tune, praising the hardworking players. He continues to ramble, not realizing his audience has already left him behind. The lord then scrambles to catch up with his powerful new acquaintance. They soon arrive at the city mansion, a truly ostentatious sight. Hadiwut can only stare, admitting his own palace is nothing in comparison. But Vicky steps in, claiming she has a more important matter to discuss. Hadiwut laughs, assuring them he's in no rush to interrupt. Wildfire wonders about her plan, but asks the lord to wait for a moment. She leads him away, telling him to speak his mind. Vicky explains that while the city is improving, it's still far from stable. She points out that he's strong but can't manage everything alone. The most important task now is to recruit subordinates to run the city. Wildfire agrees, admitting he's already considered a solution. He notes that the war has left many of the city's natives homeless, but the core issue is that neither refugees nor players have the skills to rebuild. He explains that training skilled craftsmen takes too long, and so he turns to Vicky, asking for her help. He lays out a plan to recruit talent with an unheard-of benefits package. But Vicky worries this will attract dangerous people from other cities. Wildfire grabs her, insisting his first duty is to the people who trust him. He vows that anyone who dares to attack his city will face his blade. His conviction is enough to sway her, and she agrees to the plan. She reflects on his strange nature, a wanted criminal who acts with surprising integrity. With her mind made up, she turns to leave. She heads off to spread the word, leaving our boy to await the results. Hadywit nervously asks if the new lord has finished his business. Wildfire turns, apologizing for having kept him waiting. The visiting lord then calls for his guards to bring in the presents. He offers rare medicines and 500 gold coins as a gift. Wildfire is taken aback by the sheer value of the offering. The items are all incredibly rare, granting permanent stat increases, but Hadywit insists there's one more, even greater treasure. He presents a fire orb, granting a massive boost to fire resistance. Wildfire takes the orb, questioning how he could possess such an item. He notes that while the stat boosts are nice, the fire resistance is far more interesting. Just then, Vicky returns, impressed by the Lord's generous offering. She boasts that as a top-tier information merchant, spreading the recruitment news will be done in minutes. Wildfire then casually hands her the entire chest of treasures, leaving Hadywit stunned. The visiting lord panics, thinking his gifts were rejected. Wildfire examines the fire orb, feigning ignorance about its immense power. He admits the gifts are pretty good, much to Hadywit's continued anxiety. He then reassures the terrified lord that he has no plans to invade his city. Hadywit is moved to tears, promising his unwavering support in the future. But Wildfire simply dismisses him, claiming he's too busy to entertain guests. With the ordeal over, Wildfire sighs, exhausted by the act of receiving gifts. He turns to Vicky, ready to finally settle his outstanding debt. He tells her the rare medicines he gave her are far more valuable than any gold. He offers them as payment for future info, much to her silent exasperation. He then extends his hand, asking her to be his partner in this new venture. Vicky is visibly taken aback by his sudden, earnest proposal. She accepts the handshake, admitting he's a handful she can't help but assist. But their moment is cut short as the entire mansion begins to shake violently. A system notification appears, announcing that a world boss has spawned. Wildfire's eyes light up, eager to investigate this new, epic opportunity. He and Vicky immediately race out of the mansion, heading for the source. In the distance, a massive pillar of blue energy erupts over the forest. It's a colossal giant, wreathed in ethereal blue flames. Other players can only stare in terror at the new arrival. It smashes through the city walls with a single devastating blow. The creature strides forward, its path one of pure destruction. Its glowing eyes scan the city it's about to annihilate. The citizens flee in panic as the monster begins its rampage. A system notification confirms the worst. A nearby city has already fallen. And now, the colossal beast sets its sights on its next target. Wildfire stares in disbelief, a city wiped out in mere minutes. The system identifies the beast as a level 100 flame giant, its stats a complete mystery. Vicky asks for a plan, but Wildfire admits he's completely out of his depth. She then remembers that players can just respawn, so who cares about an evacuation? Down below, the adventurers charge forward with a reckless disregard for their own lives. Among them is the server's top player, /A Street, his eyes set on the epic loot. He leaps from the crumbling wall, ready to take on the colossal beast alone. His blade connects, but the damage is barely a scratch on the monster. The flame giant casually swats his attack aside without even a second glance. /A Street is stunned, unable to believe his server-best attack power was so useless. But just then, a bolt of golden lightning streaks through the air. It slams directly into the flame giant's chest, engulfing the massive beast in a brilliant flash of energy. The attack comes from the server's number 2 player, Sword Under the Moon. She follows up with a volley of glowing blades, but even her powerful assault barely scratches the monster's hide. Seeing their chance, the other players decide to join the fray. They swarm the giant, unleashing a flurry of their own attacks, but its health bar remains stubbornly fixed at 99%. The giant retaliates with a single stomp, sending them all flying. Vicky watches the chaos unfold through her spyglass. The flame giant's terrifying face fills her view. She lowers the scope, realizing the monster is heading straight for them. Wildfire tells her to organize an evacuation, but she asks what he plans to do. He calmly declares that he's going to kill it. Down below, the players are in a full-blown panic, desperate to escape. But Vicky steps forward, rallying the crowd to follow her. She announces that their new city lord will buy them time. The players are stunned, realizing who she's talking about. As Wildfire charges forward alone, they wonder if he's truly insane. He moves like a blur across the battlefield, digging his heels into the earth as he charges. Other players complain that the fight is hopeless, and one suggests a full retreat. but a blur of motion catches her eye. She's stunned to see a lone player charging forward. They try to warn him, certain he's rushing to his doom. Meanwhile, the top players face the colossal giant. /A Street suggests they fall back to recover their strength. He checks the leaderboard, worried his rival will steal his top spot. Just then, Wildfire blazes past them both. The flame giant looks down, annoyed by the insignificant bugs. But Wildfire charges past the top players, his blade ready to strike. The colossal beast lets out a furious roar. It brings its massive fist down as /A Street screams in rage. The impact sends a shockwave across the battlefield. The monster intends to wipe them all out in a single blow. /A Street is sent flying, vowing to make Wildfire pay. He promises to hunt our boy until he quits the game for good. But his threats are cut short as Wildfire stops the giant's stomp cold. Wildfire turns to the fallen player, asking him to repeat his threat. But Wildfire tells him to save it for later. There's a giant to kill. The colossal beast roars, ready to crush the insolent bug. But Wildfire pushes back, his blade holding against the immense weight. His sword connects, dealing a staggering amount of damage. The giant's massive foot is actually forced backward. Wildfire remains perfectly calm, his grip unwavering. He stands on the beast, unimpressed by its supposed power. He then unleashes a blinding flurry of slashes in an instant. The damage numbers stack up, reaching an impossible total. The flame giant cries out, finally feeling the sting of a real attack. He taunts the beast, calling its attacks far too slow. His blade meets the giant's hand in a flash of brilliant energy. A flurry of strikes lands, each one dealing hundreds of thousands of damage. Wildfire smirks, satisfied with the string of critical hits. The colossal beast roars, finally feeling the pain of his assault. But Wildfire's expression shifts, sensing something is wrong. A massive vortex of blue flame begins to swirl around the monster. The other players watch from afar, wondering if the giant is getting bigger. The server's number 2 player realizes he's pushed the boss to its second phase. The flame giant emerges, transformed, and with only 30% of its health remaining. Wildfire digs his heels into the ground, preparing for another charge. He launches himself forward, meeting the giant's power head-on. His blade connects, dealing over 1,000,000 points of damage. But he's shocked to see his damage has been cut in half. The giant retaliates with a swing of impossible speed. He barely manages to block the devastating blow. But the monster unleashes a relentless flurry of attacks. He realizes that no matter how strong it gets, its eyes are still a weak point. With his skill timer ticking down, he goes straight for the eye. He follows up with 2 more devastating strikes, the damage numbers skyrocketing. A massive pillar of golden light erupts, stunning the other top players. With only 2 seconds left on his skill, Wildfire unleashes everything he has. The flame giant's health bar hits 0 and the colossal beast is finally defeated. The battlefield falls silent, the top players staring in utter disbelief. The massive creature begins to dissolve into motes of blue light. Its rocky form crumbles and breaks apart, before shattering completely in a final burst of energy. /A Street can only watch as Wildfire descends, unable to believe he just soloed a world boss. Our boy lands softly in front of the fallen player, who finally recognizes him. The top player immediately starts apologizing, realizing he picked a fight with the wrong guy. Wildfire turns to the fallen player, questioning his earlier threat. A server-wide notification announces his victory and the incredible rewards he's earned. The other players realize he's the new city lord who just soloed the world boss. Inspired by his power, adventurers decide to move to Sago City. A crowd of players arrives at the gates, thanking Vicky for leading them to safety. She welcomes them all, never one to miss a business opportunity. But she looks around, surprised by how peaceful the city now seems. Elsewhere, Wildfire continues on his way. He stops, noticing the top players are now following him. They declare their intention to join his city, drawn by his overwhelming power. She explains that his victory has made him a target. Meanwhile, back in the relative safety of Halma City, Hattywood is overthinking every word of their conversation. His attendant can't believe he gave away so much for nothing. The Lord worries that his gifts were seen as an insult. He concludes that Wildfire spared him only because he saw future use for them. A terrifying thought dawns on him. The tribute wasn't enough. He decides to personally select a new, more valuable offering. Back at the now bustling Sago City, Vicky runs to greet the returning hero and his new entourage. She checks on him, worried he might be injured after the fight. But Wildfire just laughs it off, claiming he's fine but could really use a chef. Vicky sighs, realizing all her concern was wasted on a hungry kid. She then tells him she has something else to report, leading him into the city. They walk through the now bustling streets of Sago City. A massive crowd is gathered, and someone calls for silence as the city lord arrives. Wildfire is stunned by the turnout. As Vicky explains, these are the new hires he requested. a diverse group of skilled craftsmen and professionals from all over the world. They immediately swarm him, eagerly asking if the job offers are real. He tries to calm the crowd, wondering just what kind of lives these NPCs had before this. He assures them the benefits are real, but only for those who can prove their worth. A massive golden hammer slams into the ground as the first applicant steps forward. A burly man named Oaks introduces himself as a mid-tier blacksmith, followed by a mid-level chef who presents a steaming box of food. A woman named Fanami boasts that her dishes can even provide status buffs. The other onlookers are stunned. Mid-level NPCs are almost impossible to recruit. Wildfire welcomes them both, his keen eye for talent paying off. He then asks if anyone else wishes to join, concluding the job fair. But a hand shoots up from the crowd, another late applicant. A mysterious hooded woman steps forward, but she has a question for him first. She asks if he can truly guarantee her safety, prompting him to wonder about her own past. Wildfire confidently declares that as long as he lives, Sago City will stand. Moved by his conviction, the mysterious woman agrees to work for him. She introduces herself as Kylie, a senior pharmacist, a title that stuns our boy. The crowd erupts in whispers, shocked by the appearance of such a high-level NPC. Wildfire formally welcomes her to the city, his team of experts slowly growing. Just then, Vicky arrives, apologizing for being delayed by the flame giant. She's followed by a man named Savvy, who eagerly introduces himself as an experienced auctioneer. Vicky confirms his identity, but warns that he has a reputation for changing jobs. But Wildfire sees an opportunity, and formally invites the man to join his city. The auctioneer eagerly accepts, pledging his loyalty to Lord Wildfire. With his new team assembled, the city begins to flourish under the setting sun. Wildfire walks through the clean streets, proud of the progress they've made. Vicky agrees, but ever the pragmatist, she asks about his tax plan. Before he can answer, he's interrupted by a familiar, overly eager face. Howdy-What returns, claiming his men just found another treasure. He presents a glowing box, insisting it belongs in Wildfire's hands. Inside is a mysterious, unidentified obsidian gem. Wildfire examines the strange item, wondering what Howdy-What is playing at. But he realizes that refusing the gift would only cause more problems. Wildfire accepts the gift and turns back to Vicky, ready to discuss city business. She explains that most cities have a tax rate between 15 and 20%. Wildfire is shocked by the high number, which Howdy-What confirms is accurate. Vicky admits that such high taxes are what drove people like her to lawless places like Chaos City. A look of determination crosses his face as he considers his next move. Elsewhere, a golden token is presented at a counter. A blonde adventurer sighs, frustrated by her unfortunate in-game name. She considers a high-level strength potion, a key item for a difficult quest. The shopkeeper thanks her for the purchase, using her full, embarrassing title. She requests 2 bottles of the advanced potion from the clerk. She knows the Land of Chaos dungeon requires a flawless solo run, but her train of thought is suddenly derailed by an incredible aroma. She turns, wondering what could possibly smell so good. The source is a nearby stall selling freshly baked buns. She's shocked to find the food also provides a temporary strength buff. She quickly orders 2 servings from the cheerful vendor. With her supplies fully restocked, she heads for the dungeon with renewed hope. She soon arrives at the entrance of the dark, foreboding labyrinth. Inside, she's immediately set upon by a horde of grotesque monsters. But she meets their charge with a powerful swing of her massive blade. She notes that the food buff has made this familiar dungeon run much easier. But her focus sharpens, knowing the true test is still ahead. A new horde of monsters appears, and she declares the real fight has begun. She carves through them with practiced ease, a whirlwind of steel and fury. Her feet land softly on the stone floor, the last of the minions defeated. She's surprised by her own efficiency, clearing the wave in record time. Now only the final boss stands between her and victory. She drinks her strength potion, preparing for the final confrontation. With a determined push, she opens the doors to the boss's chamber, and is greeted by a massive winged demon, the master of this dungeon. The demon lunges forward, its claws ready to tear her apart. But she meets its charge with a powerful slash of her own. She's stunned by the sheer amount of damage she's dealing. She plants her feet, a sudden realization dawning on her. The buffs from the food and potion have stacked, an unheard of effect. As the demon prepares another attack, she wonders if this is the power of advanced potions. With her blade glowing, she prepares to show the beast who's really in charge. A server-wide notification confirms her victory and her truly unfortunate player name. The news of her success quickly spreads to a tavern in Malt City, where other players praise her strategy guide for helping them clear the dungeon's pre-quests. They realize the key to her success was the mid-level food and high-grade potions, and a sudden thought strikes one of the players like a bolt of lightning. He rushes out of the tavern as the others scramble to follow, desperate for the same advantage. Meanwhile, in the Lord's mansion of Rawson City, a serious meeting is underway. An old lord explains that wildfire's rise has caused a mass exodus of talent from their own cities. One of the other lords confirms that his city's economy has been hit hard by the shift. The other asks if their host, Lord Karrast, has a solution to this growing problem. Karast's solution is simple and direct. Attack Sagos City and eliminate wildfire for good. But the others are hesitant, recalling the terrifying rumors of wildfire's overwhelming power. Lord Karrast simply lets out a low, sinister chuckle, completely confident in his plan. He explains his purpose for calling this meeting, to unite their forces. To show his sincerity, he offers to send his strongest general and 6,000 soldiers. The green-haired lord realizes this isn't a negotiation, it's an ultimatum. The other two lords reluctantly agree to send 2,000 soldiers each. Karrast dismisses wildfire as a threat, placing the entire operation under his general's command. With no objections, the order is given to mobilize their armies immediately. Meanwhile, at Kylie's new pharmacy in Sagos City, players are practically brawling in the streets over who gets to buy potions first. But their enthusiasm is cut short as a sign is hung on the door. The shop is temporarily closed, leaving the massive crowd to grumble in disappointment. Wildfire arrives at the pharmacy, wondering why it's already out of stock. Kylie opens the door looking utterly exhausted by her work. Before he can react, the door slams shut in his face. She's clearly overwhelmed by the endless stream of customers. She explains that the demand for potions is just too high to keep up with. It's not just players. Resellers are buying everything in bulk. He realizes this pace is unsustainable and a security risk for the city. But then, a brilliant idea strikes him as he remembers his new auctioneer. He wakes the exhausted pharmacist, proposing they auction off her potions. This way she'll earn more money and finally get some well-deserved rest. Kylie considers his proposal, agreeing to make 30 potions a day. Wildfire is thrilled, realizing the limited supply will only increase their value. With the deal settled, he tells her to get some rest as the door closes. Outside, he's surprised to find Vicky waiting for him. She explains she was worried about the city's security, but he handled it well. He clenches his prosthetic hand, telling her she's just in time. He leans in close, a serious look on his face, and tells her he has something important to say. He then formally appoints her as the new governor of Sagos City. Vicky is utterly stunned by the sudden massive promotion. A golden token floats above the city, sealing the appointment for all to see. But Vicky points out the obvious flaw in his plan. An information dealer from Chaos City hardly has a clean record. Wildfire counters that he, the city lord, is no different. But their debate is cut short by the distant sound of a war horn. A system notification confirms the worst. 2 rival cities have declared war. An enemy general scoffs at the state of Sagos City, ordering his men to take it. But he halts the advance as Wildfire steps out alone, assuming he's come to surrender. Our boy stands firm, ready to face an army of 10,000 all by himself. He then makes a bold offer, attempting to recruit the entire enemy force. The general erupts in laughter, mocking the kid's desperate attempt to buy his way out of a fight. The general offers a condescending deal, a one-on-one duel. His champion, General Montaneja, steps forward, admiring Wildfire's courage. He dismounts his horse, preparing for the fight. The general draws his blade, demanding Wildfire do the same. But Wildfire is tired of all the talk, his new sword already humming with power. He leaps into the air, unleashing a torrent of fiery energy. He moves in a blur, appearing behind the general before he can even react. A single devastating kick sends the champion flying from his saddle. The general is defeated in an instant, his fate sealed by the system. With the noisy man silenced, he repeats his offer to the stunned army. The defeated general realizes they never stood a chance against such power. His sword clatters to the stone ground, a final admission of defeat. He bows deeply, pledging his allegiance to Wildfire and Sagos City. The other 2 lords panic, calling Wildfire a monster as they try to flee. But he appears before them, asking why they're in such a hurry to leave. They claim the army was a gift, a truly terrible and unconvincing lie. The lords quickly shift the blame to their superior, Lord Karrast. Begging for their lives, they're offered a simple deal: pay a toll. The lords are stunned by the request, but eagerly agree to his terms. They present a chest filled with 10,000 gold coins as payment. Wildfire accepts the payment and dismisses the 2 terrified lords, but not before adding a warning about future taxes and an exit fee. The lords flee in outrage, lucky to have escaped with their lives. He walks back into the city with his new general, where Vicky is waiting. She teases him, impressed by his natural talent for extortion. He quickly changes the subject, introducing the general to his new governor. He tells Vicky this is her first official duty, and she gives a mock salute. But as he turns to leave, another voice calls out to him. A blonde adventurer appears, introducing herself as Flying Sow Essence. Wildfire simply asks who she is, unimpressed by the grand introduction. She proudly announces her rank as the #1 player on the server. She boasts about her amazing reputation, while Wildfire tries to place the name. He finally remembers she's the one who wrote the popular dungeon guide. He immediately assumes she's here for money, but she cuts off his rambling excuses. Instead, she offers her services, confident her professional skills are needed. But Wildfire remains unimpressed, asking what makes her so special. She reminds him of her top rank, but he points out he needs NPCs, not players. Her confidence wavers, realizing her rank might not be enough. He asks if she has any city management experience, which she nervously denies. And with that, he dismisses her, leaving the top player utterly speechless. She erupts in fury, unable to believe a player could master NPC skills. Left alone in the street, she can only stand there in stunned silence. But her shock quickly hardens into pure, unyielding determination. She vows that one day, Wildfire will regret ever turning her away. Sometime later, she returns in a hooded disguise, greeting the city guards. Elsewhere, Wildfire checks in on his new soldiers, asking for Vicky's location. He learns she's at the west gate and heads off, much to the guards' surprise. As he leaves, the soldiers praise their new lord, while the hooded player listens in. But her eavesdropping is cut short as the guards call her out for following him. Meanwhile, Wildfire finds Vicky and the general waiting for him at the gate. He asks his new subordinates for a status report on the soldiers. Vicky proudly confirms that everything is already handled. But Wildfire has a different plan, ordering them to prioritize supplies over drills. His new general and governor immediately accept their orders. With his task set, the general heads off to begin his work. Wildfire then asks about the auction, which Vicky confirms is well underway. He then presents the mysterious gem, asking if she knows an appraiser. Vicky recalls a famous one in the city of the Lord. He just extorted. She advises against it, but he's already gone, leaving her in charge. And so his journey takes him to the city of Rakasha. The blonde adventurer laments her failed disguise, wondering where Wildfire has gone. Meanwhile, a horse-drawn carriage speeds along the road. She spots Wildfire at the reins and immediately gives chase. But our boy is lost in thought, barely registering the shouts behind him. He soon arrives at the grand eastern gate of Rakasha City, but the guards immediately raise their weapons, warning him to stay back. He remembers that even with his emblem hidden, his reputation precedes him. A sinister grin spreads across his face as a new plan forms. He calmly tells the guards he's not here to cause trouble. He even offers to leave peacefully, insisting he's not a devil. He walks away as the guards promise to forget they ever saw him. Just then, the blonde adventurer arrives, completely out of breath. She recognizes Rakasha City, wondering what Wildfire is doing here. She approaches the guards, asking if they've seen him pass through. But the two men are sweating profusely, clearly terrified. They frantically deny seeing anyone, their composure completely shattered. Annoyed, she decides to just go in and find him herself. But the guards block her path. Terrified, Wildfire will think they snitched. Elsewhere, under the quiet light of a crescent moon, a woman with long white hair sits alone in a lavish room. A sudden knock at the door breaks the silence. She opens it to find Wildfire, who asks if she is Lady Windsor. She laughs, amused by his assumption that she'd be an old man. Clarifying the common mistake, she warmly invites him inside. Once seated, she asks what item he's brought for her to appraise. He presents the mysterious obsidian gem from Haddywood. Her eyes widen as she recognizes the aura of the Sadru family. Meanwhile, one of the city lords is alerted to a powerful visitor's arrival. His attendant confirms the reports, identifying the man as Lord Wildfire. The lord panics, assuming Wildfire is already here to collect his toll. Wildfire is confused, having never heard of the Sadru family. She explains they were a legendary race, once the undisputed rulers of the world, a peace-loving people who could control nature itself, but their kindness was seen as weakness, leading to their eventual disappearance. She confirms that appraising such a rare item will take some time, but Wildfire interrupts, a new plan already forming in his mind. He offers her a place in Sagos City, a bold recruitment attempt. She's flattered by the offer, but seems hesitant to accept. She explains the difficulty of leaving, but Wildfire has a simple solution: leverage. Intrigued, she agrees to appraise the gem while he handles the city lord. He tells her to continue her work while he greets the new arrivals. And just then, the city lord appears, practically tripping over himself to be polite. Wildfire smirks, announcing his plan to recruit Lady Windsor to Sagos City. The terrified lord immediately agrees, eager to please his powerful guest. Lady Windsor can only stare, stunned that her own lord just gave her away. Wildfire tells her the matter is settled, but she tries to protest about the gem. Without a word, he grabs her wrist, his decision already made. He pulls her along, insisting she can finish the appraisal on the way. The lord watches them go, looking far too pleased with himself. He then asks his attendant how they should deliver the toll money to Sago's city. Wildfire tells the lord to use the toll money for Lady Windsor's move. The man eagerly agrees, promising a full escort for her and her supplies. Elsewhere, the blonde adventurer finally scales the city wall. She spots Wildfire's carriage leaving and shouts his name in frustration. Back in Sago City, Lady Windsor finishes appraising the mysterious gem. She announces that the identification is finally complete, but a powerful seal on the stone prevents her from fully unlocking it. Wildfire learns the gem is a key to the lost holy land of Sadru. Lady Windsor admits she doesn't know the location but has a map. She presents a scroll leading to their former territory, a new clue. Wildfire thanks Lady Windsor for her invaluable assistance. He then turns to Vicky, ordering her to oversee the appraiser's move. With the city in capable hands, he decides to investigate the map's location. And so, his journey to the Forgotten Lands begins. His path takes him through the rugged Crowley Mountains. He travels by carriage through the lush green wilderness. Dismissing his driver, he prepares to venture into the unknown alone. He arrives, stunned by the beauty of the Sadru family's former territory. It's a peaceful sanctuary, seemingly untouched by the outside world. The local wildlife shows no fear, a testament to the land's ancient magic. But he wonders where in this vast land the Holy Land could be. Just then, the obsidian gem in his hand begins to glow with a brilliant light. Elsewhere, the blonde adventurer curses her luck as a pillar of light erupts nearby. She rushes over only to find that Wildfire has vanished completely. Our boy, meanwhile, is falling through a strange, ethereal space. He lands in a massive cavern filled with glowing blue crystals. A single drop of shimmering liquid falls onto his cheek. It looks almost like a tear from the cave itself. He sits up, utterly bewildered by his new, mysterious surroundings. His first instinct is to check the system, wondering how long he's been out. But he quickly realizes something is terribly wrong. His player system is completely unresponsive. He considers logging out but hesitates, knowing this might be a one-time opportunity. Deciding to risk it, he ventures deeper into the mysterious cavern. He draws his sword, glad it's not stuck in some inaccessible inventory. With his weapon in hand, he follows the only path forward. But a sudden pulse of energy from his blade stops him in his tracks. He looks down at the gem, connecting the dots to his arrival. But his train of thought is cut short as he walks face first into an invisible barrier. He stumbles back, rubbing his head and wondering what just happened. He looks up to find a massive, ornate door blocking his path. Upon closer inspection, he notices a strange leaf-shaped groove in the center. The glowing gem in his hand seems to be the obvious key. He places the stone into the slot, and it erupts with brilliant light. The heavy doors swing open as a voice welcomes him to the Holy Land. Inside, a ghostly figure explains it has been waiting to test him for the power of its ancestors. Wildfire wonders if this is just a pre-recorded message, intrigued by the mention of a trial. He cautiously steps forward, approaching the floating entity. The masked spirit asks if he is ready to begin the first round. Our boy agrees, though he casually calls it an experiment, earning a silent correction. The spirit commends his bravery, its form crackling with energy. It explains the trial. Defeat a mental clone of the legendary Shadow Leopard. Wildfire activates his villain skill, ready to face the beast head-on. The creature digs its claws into the stone floor and lunges forward in a blur of shadowy fury. But Wildfire meets the attack with a single, effortless block. The masked spirit lets out a gasp of genuine surprise. Wildfire turns, realizing the entity isn't just a recording. He asks if it just spoke, but the spirit tries to move on to the next trial. Our boy calls it out for the act, but the spirit simply announces the second round has begun. Wildfire protests, claiming he wasn't ready for the next round. But the spirit introduces his new opponent, a legendary bird, an ancient ally of the Sadru. Before he can even process the information, the trial is already underway. A powerful gust of wind sends him flying backward. He realizes the beast controls the air, making a close-range fight impossible. With a new plan in mind, he grips his sword tightly. He unleashes a massive wave of dark energy from his blade. The powerful ranged attack slams directly into the flying creature. The bird's form shatters into 1,000 motes of light. Wildfire lands with a confident smirk, noting the trial wasn't so hard after all. He notes that his villain skill has worn off, leaving him vulnerable for the next trial. He turns to the spirit, asking for a bit of a heads up before the next round begins. But the spirit claims it's too tired, and the next trial won't be for another week. It tells him to get stronger. But Wildfire's smug expression clearly annoys the ancient entity. Agreeing to the terms, he asks to be sent back to the surface. As a pillar of light engulfs him, the spirit lets out a sigh of pure relief. It wonders if the kid even needs more power, given how easily he handled the legendary clones. Wildfire reappears in the forest, landing directly on top of the blonde adventurer. He looks down at her, immediately accusing her of following him. She frantically denies it, claiming she was just passing by and he's the one playing games. He wonders if, to the outside world, he simply vanished for a while. He looks out at the familiar forest, his mind racing. He realizes time must flow differently in the Holy Land and plans to return in a week. But his thoughts are interrupted by the persistent blonde adventurer, who demands he let her join his city. He offers her a chance, but only if she can prove her strength first. She's overjoyed by the opportunity, while Wildfire tries to explain the conditions. But she's already brimming with confidence, certain she can handle any test. He suggests she take on the Challenge Tower, a notoriously difficult dungeon. He'll watch from the sidelines, but warns her that the trial won't be easy. She scoffs, reminding him that she's the one who holds the current record. Inside the tower, the first monster leaps forward to attack, but it's met with a blinding flash of light. With the first floor cleared, she suggests they speed things up. On the 10th floor, she carves through a hulking beast with ease, and on the 20th, she unleashes a whirlwind of steel. But on the 30th floor, a new challenger appears. She smirks, ready to finally show off her true power. Golden energy crackles around her as she prepares to strike. She lands a devastating blow, shattering the golem's rocky hide. And with a final, explosive impact, the massive creature is defeated. The blonde adventurer catches her breath, claiming she's proven her strength. But Wildfire just stretches, telling her to go back and rest. She insists this was just a warm-up, feeling he's still underestimating her. Her frustration grows, unable to figure out what this guy is thinking. They arrive on the next floor and Wildfire spots the new gatekeeper. A group of surprisingly muscular goblins stands before them. She warns him to be careful, claiming she won't be able to protect him. With that, she leaps into battle, her blade crackling with energy. She unleashes a blinding flurry of slashes, a whirlwind of blue light. The goblin leader's eyes narrow, unimpressed by her flashy display. But her blade is easily deflected by the goblin's powerful block. She realizes with a shock that these monsters are far stronger than she anticipated. Still, she presses on, sending one of the goblins flying with a powerful upward slash. She leaps through the air, a blur of motion as she engages the remaining foes. But she's stunned as a shadowy creature is summoned behind her. She's forced onto the defensive, blocking a flurry of dagger strikes. Another goblin unleashes a volley of spinning projectiles, forcing her back. Realizing she can't drag this out, she decides to end the fight quickly. Her eyes begin to glow with a furious crimson light, and she unleashes a massive burst of energy, sending the goblins flying. She stomps her foot, unleashing a wave of pure energy, and becomes a whirlwind of steel, tearing through the goblin ranks. Her blade cuts through the air in a brilliant blue arc. The entire chamber is engulfed in a blinding flash of light. The goblins are caught in a web of impossibly fast slashes. Their bodies are sent flying as she stands victorious below. She turns to Wildfire, a crazed grin on her face, asking if he sees her power now, only to find him rubbing his eyes, asking if the floor is finally cleared. She fumes, telling him to pay attention on the next level so he can get a good look. But Wildfire calmly admits he's already seen enough to recognize her strength. He tells her it's his turn now, and they return to the first floor. With a single flick, he sends the first goblin flying. She watches it embed itself in the ceiling, wondering if his methods are a bit too cruel. On the 10th floor, he carves through the gatekeeper with ease. And on the 20th, he leaves a trail of defeated monsters in his wake. He shatters the 30th floor golem without even drawing his sword. The blonde adventurer realizes the monsters are now scaled to his level, and his earlier act was just to mess with her. A new group of powerful goblins appears, and she prepares for a real fight. But Wildfire finally draws his weapon, deciding it's time to get serious. He unleashes a powerful swing, complaining about the over-the-top enemy designs. The blonde adventurer can only stare in disbelief, refusing to accept what she just saw. She scrambles to her feet, shouting for him to wait up. On the next floor, she realizes he didn't even use a skill to clear the last wave. She tries to rationalize it, convinced the difficulty must be scaled down because he's the party leader. But on the next floor, he's already defeated the boss before she even had a chance to see it. Her entire understanding of the game is being rewritten by this one player. She finally realizes it's not a bug. He's just so fast that the monsters are gone before they can even render. Her own hard-earned record now seems pathetic, as she's forced to admit his strength is on another level. A new challenge appears, a pack of vicious shadow panthers. She tries to warn him about their speed, but Wildfire just looks ready for a snack. He recalls the obsidian gem, eager to test its ancestral power. He shouts a strange command phrase at the beasts. And just like that, the panthers are completely tamed, leaving the adventurer stunned. He then casually invites her to pick one and ride it up the tower. And so they set off, one with glee, the other with pure embarrassment. On the 42nd floor, she identifies the new enemies as powerful, wind-controlling birds. But Wildfire just repeats his strange command, taming them as well. She realizes her serious warnings were completely unnecessary. The 43rd floor presents a new challenge, a trio of powerful elemental spirits, who are, of course, immediately turned into his new best friends. He then orders his new pets to attack the elemental spirits. The tamed beasts lunge forward, a coordinated wave of fury. The blonde adventurer is stunned by their impossible teamwork. Wildfire simply smiles, enjoying her complete and utter confusion. He realizes that with his stats, an army of tamed beasts would be invincible. With the floor cleared, he casually suggests they continue their climb. As they ride, she finally asks about his many secrets. He brushes off her questions, promising to show her more in the future. They soon arrive on the 50th floor, greeted by a massive bolt of lightning. The boss appears, a level 59 Thunderlord who seems surprised to see them. The blonde adventurer is stunned, realizing this is the legendary Lord of Thunder. The boss scoffs at the tamed beasts, calling them traitors to their true master. Crackling with power, he asks if Wildfire truly believes he can win. The adventurer warns him not to be reckless, suggesting he let his pets handle the fight. But Wildfire simply tells her to stay back and watch him work. The Thunderlord roars, promising to punish the boy for his arrogance. Wildfire just stands there, completely unimpressed by the light show. The boss repeats his threat, his voice filled with contempt for the human. He raises his hands, gathering a massive amount of electrical energy, and unleashes a powerful blast of lightning directly at Wildfire. The Thunderlord unleashes a torrent of golden lightning, screaming for his opponent to die. But Wildfire stands completely unfazed, the energy crackling harmlessly around him. He even floats slightly off the ground, a testament to his overwhelming power. The boss is stunned, wondering why his attack had no effect. Wildfire simply feigns ignorance, asking what shield the boss is talking about. Enraged, the Thunderlord vows to use his strongest move to send the boy to his doom. The blonde adventurer shouts for Wildfire to retreat if the fight is too much. But her words fall on deaf ears as she realizes he's not even listening. Because Wildfire has already moved, landing a devastating punch on the boss's face. The Thunderlord's head hits the floor, defeated by a single casual blow. Wildfire calmly asks the defeated boss what he can do for him. The Thunderlord is still in shock, unable to understand why his attacks failed. Wildfire notes that his punch did do a tiny bit of damage, but not enough for the system to display. As a sign of respect, he offers to make the boss's end a little less painful. The Thunderlord's bravado shatters, and he immediately begs for his life, much to Wildfire's confusion. He offers to serve Wildfire just like the other beasts he tamed. But Wildfire explains that unlike the beasts, he simply doesn't trust the Thunderlord. The boss realizes he has one last option, and Wildfire asks what it is. He offers to dedicate the legendary Thunderstone to him, promising to retrieve it later. Wildfire considers the offer, wishing Vicky was here to tell him what a Thunderstone is actually worth. The Thunderlord explains that his power has been passed on, so there's no need to continue. Wildfire agrees to stop for the day, offering to take the exhausted adventurer back to the city. But just as the Thunderlord begins to fade, a new presence appears. A sinister voice calls out to him, and the Thunderlord recognizes it immediately. A swirling portal of blue energy opens on the floor. The new entity questions why he's trading with humans in its territory. The Thunderlord can only stare in terror, identifying the newcomer as Lord Death. A hooded figure emerges, reminding the Thunderlord of his promise to serve in the tower. He recalls the deal. Serve for 100 years to reduce his time in the underworld. Lord Death now asks if he's ready to pay the price for breaking the rules. The Thunderlord begins to fade, his form dissolving into motes of light. Lord Death looms over him, asking if he's ready to accept his punishment. The price for his transgression is another 100 years of service in the underworld. The Thunderlord hesitates, but Lord Death asks if he has any objections. He questions why the rules weren't made clear from the very beginning. But Lord Death explains that vague contracts are far more profitable. And with that, the Thunderlord is sealed away, his sentence officially extended. Back outside the tower, the trial is finally over. A system notification confirms their success, announcing the rewards for reaching the 50th floor. The blonde adventurer is thrilled to receive a rare weapon, a huge step up from the usual loot. Wildfire stretches, noting he's now level 25 and asking if she's satisfied. The blonde adventurer is forced to admit his overwhelming power, ashamed she ever tried to show off. She runs after him, pledging her loyalty and calling him boss, much to his confusion. Their journey takes them back to the grand city of Sygos. But as they approach, they find a massive crowd gathered at the gates. The players are shouting, demanding to be let inside to see Wildfire. On the wall, General Montaneja and Vicky try to maintain order, threatening the unruly mob. The blonde adventurer recognizes them as famous players, but Wildfire seems to know what's going on. He calls up to the wall, ordering his general to open the gates. The crowd erupts as they realize their city lord has finally returned. The players pour into the city, thrilled to have a new hub. Vicky rushes over, announcing the arrival of the famous adventurers. Wildfire asks his new companion if she remembers his original vision for the city. She suddenly recalls his bold declaration, New Chaos City. He explains that with better resources, he can attract the best players. She wonders how he'll manage the egos of so many top-tier adventurers. Vicky chimes in, confident their garrison can handle any trouble. He smirks, officially welcoming them to his new and improved lawless zone. The next day, a massive recruitment event is already underway, but the players are confused, wondering if they're being drafted into an army. A cheerful NPC tries to sell them on the idea of joining the city, but the players are skeptical, demanding to know what's in it for them. The NPC struggles to remember the details, leaving one player to wonder if even the AI forgets its lines. Elsewhere, under the quiet light of a crescent moon, Wildfire and his new companion venture into the ominous Dark Night Forest. The blonde adventurer questions his plan, pointing out this is a level 80 zone, but Wildfire is just impressed by the game's design, feeling no sense of danger. She feels a chill and suggests they turn back, but he brushes off her concerns. He tells her to just wear more clothes if she's cold, completely missing the point. He then reminds her that level doesn't always equal strength, and she has to agree, given who she's talking to. He then dashes off, shouting about his city's glory, leaving the blonde adventurer to wonder if he forgot she existed. Her expression shifts to one of pure annoyance. She reminds herself that death is just a minor inconvenience and gives chase, but she soon finds herself lost, calling out for her new boss. A sudden noise puts her on edge and she draws her blade. Just then, a single drop of liquid lands on her head. She looks up, wondering if it's starting to rain, only to find a level 80 shadow leopard staring down at her. The massive beast lunges, ready to make her its next meal. A terrified scream cuts through the silence of the night forest. The blonde adventurer is pinned, convinced this is the end. But a familiar voice cuts in, and the beast's attack halts instantly. She scrambles to her feet and rushes to Wildfire, overcome with relief. She tearfully accuses him of leaving her alone with the monster. But the once vicious leopard is now grooming itself like a house cat, much to her confusion. Wildfire calmly reminds her that she's the one who insisted on tagging along. He then offers her the tamed beast, suggesting she try riding this one too. A quiet moment passes under the serene crescent moon. And just like that, she has a brand new high-level mount. She rides her new mount, still a bit nervous about the whole almost being eaten incident. She asks if his plan is to tame an entire army of these beasts. But Wildfire reveals a much faster solution, a teleportation array. The blonde adventurer is stunned, recalling the exorbitant cost of such a device. Wildfire just smirks, determined to get his money's worth out of the investment. As they wait for the array to activate, the mood grows more contemplative. She finally asks him why someone with his power would even need to build a city. He explains that for a player like him, no city would ever open its gates. She considers his point, recalling the rumors of him soloing a world boss. He simply tells her that this game has far more to offer than just raw strength. He explains that in this world, the NPCs are more than just code, and that online games are only fun when everyone plays together. The blonde adventurer realizes his ideals match her own. As he announces their return, she calls out to her new boss. She pledges her unwavering loyalty and support, and Wildfire accepts her vow with a simple, trusting smile. They return to the city, her new high-level mount turning every head. Wildfire is surprised by the massive crowd gathered for recruitment. He steps forward, ready to make an announcement to the hopefuls. The players recognize him and his new companion, wondering if the top players have formed an alliance. He proudly introduces the server's top player to the adoring crowd. He then shows off her new mount, a level 80 shadow leopard. And with a grin, he promises every new recruit will get one of their own. The crowd erupts in cheers, their loyalty instantly bought by the incredible offer. And so, the new Legion of Sago City is born. With everyone mounted, the blonde adventurer begins to lay out the rules. But one player scoffs, refusing to be controlled by anyone. He rides off, ignoring her warnings to stop. But his new mount has other ideas, promptly throwing him to the ground. As the adventurer scolds him, the player begs for forgiveness. The defeated player waits to respawn, his spirit clearly broken. Wildfire asks if he's learned his lesson, and the humbled player quickly falls back in line. With the demonstration over, Wildfire addresses the Legion. He explains that while the rules are simple, quitting means losing their new mount and all future benefits. A player in the crowd points out the incredible value of a level 80 boost before announcing even more good news. Wildfire reveals the city's new teleportation array leads directly to the Dark Knight Forest. He brushes off her concerns, calling this a new way to experience the game. A new way that just happens to involve a private army of high-level players. He knows that once his legion is trained, he can begin conquering other cities, and perhaps find a way to finally escape his cursed Tyrant class for good. Wildfire lets out a triumphant laugh, much to his companion's annoyance. He recalls the earlier, less successful recruitment drive, where the promise of a mount failed to attract a single soul. But now, back in the bustling Sagos city, the blonde adventurer addresses a full legion of mounted players. Wildfire encourages them to work hard as they prepare to set off. He waves them off, calling them the future of his new city. He's pleased with how smoothly it all went, trusting his new second-in-command. But he knows he can't rely on Vicky for everything, and must return to his own duties. He realizes that to truly expand, he'll need to form a second legion soon. He reflects on the high cost of his new legion, a price tag he cleverly avoided. His next plan involves taming even more powerful beasts for a second legion. But the cost of another teleportation array is staggering, and he worries about his funds. Still, he clenches his fist, his dream of becoming a Saint Knight fueling his resolve. Just then, a familiar voice calls out to the city lord. He turns to find Lady Windsor, wondering why the appraiser is here. She explains her old lord moved her here, telling her to serve him well. She bashfully admits she didn't realize his true feelings for her until now. Wildfire realizes the other lord completely misunderstood his intentions. He quickly tries to clear the air, insisting he only wanted her for her talent. She covers her face in embarrassment, asking where she's supposed to stay. Wildfire tells her to rest, promising Vicky will sort out her accommodations. He then makes a hasty retreat, leaving the confused appraiser behind. Our boy sighs, realizing he can't even go back to his own mansion now. But a familiar voice cuts through his frustration. She waves, casually asking if her new lord is already in trouble. After a quick explanation, she agrees to handle the awkward situation. She then changes the subject, mentioning she has a new business proposal. She hands him a poster, which he recognizes as a bounty order. A 10-year-old quest with a massive reward, one she's sure only he can complete. Wildfire confidently accepts the quest, telling Vicky to wait for his good news. His journey begins at a local way station. He boards a carriage, ready to head to his destination. The attendant asks if he minds sharing the ride, and Wildfire agrees without a second thought. A moment later, a level 37 adventurer with purple hair appears, and Wildfire wonders about her strange attire. He then remembers his own red name status, realizing why she might be hesitant to travel with him. She seems to sense his thoughts, offering to back out if he's uncomfortable, but she steps into the carriage anyway. Wildfire notes her confidence, realizing she's not afraid of his reputation. He decides it doesn't matter and closes his eyes to rest, certain their paths will never cross again. The carriage speeds along the path, its journey finally coming to an end. The driver calls out, announcing that they've arrived at their destination. Wildfire steps out, asking the man for directions to a nearby ruin. The driver warns him that it's a cursed place, a mountain from which no one ever returns. But Wildfire simply thanks him for the information and heads off, undeterred by the ominous tale. He walks through the wilderness, making his way toward the dangerous peak, when a sudden projectile lands just inches from his feet, stopping him cold. His fellow passenger appears, weapon drawn, accusing him of stalking her. He calmly explains he's on a quest, presenting the bounty order for the dwarven ruins. She confirms its authenticity, and he suggests they travel together since they're heading the same way. She agrees, but warns him that any suspicious moves will be his last. Internally, she admits he's skilled, finding this strange adventurer rather interesting. As they travel, she effortlessly dispatches a pack of monsters with her blade and a well-placed explosive. The resulting blast clears the path, a testament to her combat prowess. Wildfire applauds her skill, comparing her favorably to the server's top player, much to her annoyance. He then proposes a partnership, promising a fair split of any loot they find. He waves his hand, confident she'll accept his generous offer. But she flatly refuses, claiming he's not worthy of working with her. She then lunges forward, pressing a blade to his throat to emphasize her point. But Wildfire easily sidesteps the attack, sending her flying through the air with a simple flip. She recovers mid-air, unleashing a volley of projectiles, landing gracefully on the ground. She pulls out a massive firearm ready for another shot. A powerful blast sends Wildfire stumbling backward. She holds up a bomb, asking if he's impressed yet. But Wildfire is completely unfazed, asking if she wants to keep going. She finally relents, admitting her attacks are useless and agreeing to cooperate. Their journey takes them deep into the mountain's mechanical heart. They finally reach the entrance, a marvel of dwarven engineering. Wildfire laughs off her complaints, but realizes they have a new problem. A locked door. He searches the area, convinced there must be a hidden switch. And sure enough, he finds a lever, questioning the architect's design choices. But a sudden noise from the gate makes him look up in surprise. His companion calls out from inside, and he rushes to her aid. He leaps through the opening, telling her to scout ahead for traps, only to be met with a massive geyser of water from below. He lands in a rather compromising position, much to her embarrassment. She quickly points out a path forward, eager to move on. They find themselves in a massive, water-filled chamber. He's surprised she followed him down, but she insists it wasn't out of concern. She asks what they're supposed to do now. Wildfire spots another lever, suggesting they give it a try. But she's wary, remembering how the last one turned out. He cheerfully insists she should just trust him. With a click, the mechanism begins to activate. She notices something large rising from the water below. A massive dwarven golem emerges, its ancient technology on full display. He then points out that the massive machine is heading straight for her. She immediately turns and flees, not wanting to be its first target. But Wildfire is just impressed, already planning to make it his new bodyguard. A powerful blast erupts from her weapon, slamming into the golem just as it lunges for Wildfire. He complains that she ruined his plan to tame the machine, but she just tells him to get a move on, leaving the broken golem behind. Their path leads them to a massive staircase, blocked by beams of fire. His companion realizes they have no way to safely cross. But Wildfire simply walks through the flames completely unharmed. She wonders if the trap is just a harmless illusion. A quick test proves that theory very, very wrong. She can only watch in confusion as he continues on, immune to the searing heat. He remembers the fire orb Hadiwut gave him, which makes the flames feel like a warm bath. He reaches the other side and pulls another lever. He calls out to his companion, telling her the path is now clear. She joins him, still stunned that he's completely unharmed by the flames. His eyes then fall on a massive dwarven mechanism, wondering if he can take it with him. He gives it a try, but the ancient machine doesn't budge. Instead, it springs to life, launching itself directly at his face. He realizes it needs a power source to function, much to his companion's annoyance. After a while, they arrive at what seems to be the central chamber of the ruins. Wildfire wonders why such a simple place has such a high bounty, but she knows he's the only one who thinks it's easy. She then asks how they plan to split the reward, but she's confused why his bounty is only 3,000 gold. She reveals her own quest is worth 10 times that amount. She explains she's a bounty hunter, a hidden class that gets quests directly from her mentor. Wildfire then asks if she knows how to spot a fake, a question that leaves her completely baffled. He points out the official guild seal on her order, a detail his own is missing. She realizes her mentor has been scamming her all along. Wildfire is moved to tears, realizing they're both victims of terrible mentors. Apparently, hidden profession mentor is just code for scam artist in this game. But their moment is cut short as a voice welcomes the fresh meatballs. A massive mechanical guardian appears, mocking the foolish humans as the bounty hunter prepares a potion. She quickly consumes the buff, hoping it will be enough. She warns Wildfire that there's no way to survive this encounter. The Guardian boasts that it controls the entire ruin, leaving them no chance of escape. It demands their surrender as a smaller drone echoes the command and unleashes a massive beam of pure energy from its central eye. The bounty hunter leaps away, screaming at Wildfire to get out of the way, but our boy stands firm, realizing the beam is absorbing his life force. The Guardian laughs, convinced he's terrified and that it's too late for mercy. But Wildfire casually reveals the attack only drained about 0.02% of his health, so much for a boss fight. The Guardian is stunned, wondering why its attack had no effect. It sees Wildfire's reflection, realizing his immense vitality makes him the perfect vessel. The Guardian changes its mind, now wanting to take over Wildfire's body. But our boy is unimpressed, asking if the machine will keep trying until he dies. The Guardian boasts that he can't escape, but Wildfire just asks if that's its only trick. He turns to leave, telling the Guardian he's done talking, much to its shock. The Guardian roars in fury as Wildfire and his companion walk away. A massive mechanical foot slams down, shaking the entire chamber. The Guardian reveals its true colossal form, declaring that Wildfire forced its hand. Wildfire just smirks, asking why it didn't bring out the big guns sooner. The Guardian roars, bringing its massive foot down to crush them. The impact sends a shockwave through the chamber, but the bounty hunter manages to leap clear of the attack. She screams for Wildfire to be careful, as the Guardian prepares to unleash its final, devastating blow. She throws a pair of bombs, hoping to disable its weapon. The resulting explosion engulfs the massive machine. She knows this is a gamble. Without Wildfire, she can't win, but a powerful beam of energy cuts through the smoke, and Wildfire appears behind her, telling her not to mess this up. He scoops her into his arms, telling her to let him handle the problem, and dashes out of the way just as the Guardian's attack connects. He sets her down, wondering how he's supposed to stop this thing. His first thought is to find something to tie it up with. The Guardian realizes Wildfire's strength is far greater than it expected. It decides to take over his body by force, vowing to eliminate him. But a strange blue energy suddenly envelops our boy. A system notification appears, explaining the Guardian is trying to force a master-servant contract. But the system reverses the contract, making the dwarven ancestor his new servant. The drone, however, seems completely unaware, still mocking the weak humans. The bounty hunter rushes over, asking if Wildfire is all right. But the drone realizes its plan has failed. It can't control his body. Wildfire explains that a player's soul can't be stolen, much to his companion's confusion. With a sinister grin, he points out that the drone is now his servant. He then commands it to merge with the giant golem and follow him back to the city. The drone panics, fearing it will be trapped in the soulless machine forever. But Wildfire reminds it that the alternative is far, far worse. He immediately begins testing his new toy with a ridiculous dance routine. Even the bounty hunter gets swept up in the absurdity of it all. With his point made, Wildfire decides it's time to take his new bodyguard home. Back on the surface, the ordeal is finally over. The golem points out a secret exit, much to their relief. Wildfire laments the long climb, while his companion admits she's the troublemaker. He then asks what she plans to do now. The bounty hunter vows to find her mentor and get back every coin she was scammed out of. But Wildfire advises her to let it go, offering her a place in Sago City if she ever needs help. As she boards a carriage, he decides to head back the same way. But his new golem reminds him that it's a bit too large for public transport. Sometime later, at a grand auction house in Sago City, a massive crowd has gathered for a highly anticipated event. A smug blonde adventurer takes his seat in a private box. He boasts that his status demands only the most expensive accommodations. An attendant confirms they've secured 100,000 gold coins for the auction, but the man scoffs, demanding another $900,000. His attendant panics, explaining that buying more will cost a fortune. The man dismisses his concerns, certain he will be the star of the night. Elsewhere, Savvy and an assistant prepare for the event to begin. She asks if their mysterious city lord will be attending the auction. Just then, a figure steps into the room. Savvy laments that it's a shame, as tonight will surely make history. Savvy takes the stage, welcoming the wealthy patrons to the grand event. Just then, Vicky arrives at the bustling auction house. She finds Wildfire waiting, relieved he's returned just in time. But he has a surprise of his own, pulling out a list of new items. He hands it to Vicky, telling her to add them to the auction block. She's stunned to see ancient dwarven crafts with a massive starting price. Wildfire just smirks, telling her he's going to join the bidding himself. The auction begins with the price of a simple potion skyrocketing. The highest bids come from the exclusive private boxes above. The potion sells for a hefty sum as Wildfire watches from the floor. But his eyes fall on a familiar face in the crowd below. The blonde adventurer also spots the bounty hunter and orders an attendant to invite her up. She's soon led to a private box, surprised to see who's waiting inside. She finds Wildfire and immediately questions how he could afford such an expensive seat. Wildfire just smiles, asking if she's already settled things with her former mentor. She confirms their business is concluded, though her expression suggests it wasn't a friendly chat. Down below, the auctioneer announces the start of the main event, with items starting at 1,000 gold. The first item is a level 30 epic leather armor, a truly rare find. The bounty hunter is stunned by the exorbitant starting price, but Wildfire casually places the first bid without a second thought. The auctioneer calls out the new bid of 1,200 gold coins. In another box, the blonde adventurer smirks, finally seeing some competition. The bid is confirmed, raising the stakes even higher. The bounty hunter questions Wildfire's interest in leather armor. He simply confirms that it's his preferred class. The auctioneer slams his gavel, selling the armor for a staggering 3,600 gold. She's stunned as Wildfire immediately bids on the next item. He offers to buy her anything she wants, but she proudly refuses. And just like that, the auctioneer announces another win for their box. The blonde adventurer sighs, disappointed by the lack of a real challenge. His attendant confirms he's secured 500,000 gold coins for the auction. Wildfire asks if she's impressed by the high prices, but she remains silent. He then hands her the bidding device, telling her to pick the next item. Her eyes fall on a glowing purple sword, and she tells him to bid on it no matter the cost.
He warns her it could get expensive, but she insists he just make the bid.
With a newfound confidence, she begins to rapidly press the button. The auctioneer announces a massive bid of 5,000 gold. The blonde adventurer is stunned, taking the massive bid as a personal challenge. Wildfire feigns surprise, claiming she accidentally pressed the button too many times. He then teases her, saying it's fine since it's not her money anyway. The auctioneer announces a new bid of 7,000 gold, leaving the bounty hunter stunned. Her rival smirks, confident his immense wealth is unmatched. But his confidence shatters as the bid is immediately raised to 10,000 gold. The bids fly back and forth, the auctioneer caught up in the frenzy. He admits that in all his years he's never seen a battle this intense. And then, a massive bid of 50,000 gold shatters the tension. He raises his gavel, asking if there are any higher prices. The blonde adventurer concedes, smug even in defeat. But his eyes gleam with a new resolve, his focus shifting. He vows that the night's most valuable treasures will be his. The auctioneer then presents the next item, a mysterious box of goods. He announces this is the highlight of the night, a prize for the true high rollers. A set of ornate dwarven boxes are brought onto the stage, revealing 10 ancient spider-like robots. The bidding starts at a staggering 50,000 gold, and the crowd goes wild. The auctioneer explains their utility, showing them gathering resources, and even fighting alongside their owner in battle. The blonde adventurer grows furious as the price skyrockets past 200,000. He wonders where all these supposed poor players got their wealth. Meanwhile, the bounty hunter asks Wildfire why he isn't bidding on such a powerful item. Wildfire just smirks, revealing he's the one who put the robots up for sale. The bounty hunter is confused, asking why he'd sell such a useful item. He explains it's a long-term plan, and he controls all future repairs. Meanwhile, in the box of the Sweep the Army Guild, the blonde adventurer orders his men to buy more gold at any cost. His attendant questions the wisdom of competing with NPCs, but is quickly silenced. Back in Wildfire's box, the bounty hunter sees the gold price has tripled. She decides to cash in on the sudden inflation, and Wildfire agrees. She rushes for the door, eager to make a quick profit, but she's stopped by Vicky, who has just arrived to report to her lord. Wildfire gives Vicky an urgent order: transfer gold from the state treasury to his private account. Down below, the auctioneer slams his gavel, selling the robots for a staggering 1.2 million gold. Wildfire's winnings are laid out, a collection of rare and powerful items. Backstage, the winners gather to settle their accounts. The blonde adventurer confronts him, surprised to see the city's lord. He accuses Wildfire of being a shill, trying to drive up the prices. But Wildfire calmly confirms he's here for his payment, ordering Savvy to settle the bill. He then reveals his master plan. The robots were his, and he manipulated the entire market. With a final taunt, he thanks the adventurer for funding his victory. The defeated adventurer can only clench his fist, his rival's name a curse on his lips. He vows that one day, he will make Wildfire pay for this humiliation. Meanwhile, Wildfire finds himself on a remote mountain peak, and soon spots his target, a massive level 90 Kang Luan. Sometime later, back in the bustling streets of Sagos City, his second-in-command is surprised by a sudden arrival. It's Wildfire, who has returned with a brand-new, high-level mount. She notes that he seems different, and he admits the taming process was a close call. She then explains that while training the Legion, they ran into trouble with soldiers from a rival city. But the incident only served to make her new Legion more famous. Wildfire considers this, deciding it's time to pay their neighbors a little visit. And so, Wildfire soars through the sky on his new mount. Meanwhile, in the rival Shark City, a tense meeting is underway. An official reports that their troops were decimated by Sagos City's leopard-riding legion. The city's lord listens, his expression growing more troubled by the second. He then turns to his son, Moore, the same adventurer from the auction. Moore confesses that he attended the auction in Sagos City, and reveals that Wildfire has somehow mastered ancient dwarven technology. The lord realizes they've picked a fight with a far more powerful city than they ever imagined. But his moment of panic is cut short by a sudden disturbance. A guard bursts in, announcing that an adventurer on a giant bird has just landed in their square. The guard confirms the visitor's identity, the infamous Wildfire. The Lord of Shark City is thrown into a panic, wondering why he's arrived so soon. His advisors clamor for a decision, asking if they should prepare for war or surrender. But the Lord seems to find a sudden surge of courage. He declares that they will meet this threat head-on with no sign of weakness. His son, Moore, tries to warn him against such a reckless path, but the Lord insists their actions have already sealed their fate. He clenches his fist, his decision now final. Moore then steps forward, volunteering to negotiate with the powerful newcomer. He heads for the door, ready to face the man who humiliated him at the auction. But the Lord insists on going with him to face the threat. And so, they step out into the grand courtyard of Shark City. They find Wildfire waiting, perched atop his massive new mount. He gives them a simple choice: surrender or be destroyed. Moore nervously asks if this is about their armies clashing, but Wildfire just smirks, telling him he's misunderstood. He declares his intent to conquer every city, with theirs being the first to fall. The Lord draws his weapon, refusing to let the boy leave alive. But Wildfire reminds him that for a player, death is just a minor inconvenience. The terrified Lord tries to repeat the ultimatum, his bravado quickly fading. He tells them to decide quickly. He has a schedule to keep. The Lord nervously asks for the terms of their surrender. He declares they will not be used as pawns to invade other cities. But Wildfire's terms are simple: become a subsidiary and pay a monthly tribute. The Lord and his son are stunned by the surprisingly generous offer. With a deep bow, the Lord of Shark City officially surrenders, and with that, Wildfire soars away, his first conquest complete. Moore is relieved, but his father admits they never stood a chance. But the Lord's fear quickly turns to cunning, revealing his surrender was just an act. He plans to rally the other cities, letting them fight his battle for him. He explains that if Wildfire proves too difficult to beat, a true city lord must always put his own interest first. Meanwhile, in the grand city of Rokasha, Wildfire arrives, much to the surprise of a local official. He calmly announces his intention to make their city a subsidiary. The city's lord is overjoyed, claiming he couldn't possibly refuse. He even offers to build a teleportation array to connect their cities. Wildfire is stunned by the lack of resistance and makes a hasty exit. He soars away as the Lord marvels at his efficiency. The next day, back in the bustling Sago city, Wildfire lets out a massive yawn, clearly exhausted from his recent conquests. Vicky notices his fatigue, suggesting her lord take a well-deserved break. He explains he was busy touring his new subsidiary cities. Just then, a familiar face arrives, the bounty hunter from the Dwarven Ruins. She finally connects the dots, realizing he's the lord of Sago City. He's surprised she didn't know, but she admits she's a lone player who avoids the news. Wildfire then tells her she doesn't have to be a lone player anymore. He formally invites her to become the leader of his second Adventurer Legion. The bounty hunter is stunned by the sudden, massive job offer. But with nowhere else to go, she reluctantly accepts his proposal. She shakes his hand, formally accepting her new position. Just then, his other two commanders arrive for the meeting. Wildfire introduces the bounty hunter to her new colleagues. She introduces herself as Yaya, a much simpler name to go by. The general and the blonde adventurer give her a very enthusiastic welcome. With his new team assembled, Wildfire unrolls a map to discuss his attack plan. He explains that several nearby cities have already surrendered to his rule, but 4 others have refused, and he's officially declared war on them all. The general calculates the odds, confident they can win a 1 versus 4 war. But Wildfire corrects him, warning that this could easily become a 1 versus 8 conflict. His commanders are stunned, questioning how a 4-front war could become an 8-front one. But the blonde adventurer realizes he's right, noting how quickly the other lords surrendered. Wildfire explains that by ordering them to stay neutral, he also gave them an opening to profit from his downfall. He knows they'll likely sell information to his enemies. The general offers to guard against leaks, but Wildfire tells him to let the information flow freely. A confident smirk spreads across his face. This is all part of his calculation. He wants them to learn that no strategy can overcome absolute power. He knows this war will anger the entire server, turning countless players against him. But as he stands before the masses, he declares that he is completely fearless.